Hello and welcome to the Avrum Rosensweig Show. My name is Avrum Rosenzweig, and I'm delighted to be here with you. There have been many different individuals and peoples that I've spoken to, interviewed since I started this podcast, and many of them are high profile in Hollywood. Some of them are IDF soldiers, and some individuals who've spoken with are just regular folk. As an example, my dear friend Dodi, who works at Wimpy's, a deli across the street from me. She's Ethiopian. She's probably the kindest woman that I've ever met. Just a lovely, lovely human being. Now, today, the reason for my interview is because of my guest's name. And his name is Rashi Rosenzweig. So, firstly, welcome, Rashi Rosenzweig. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to have you. And I
I
am,
think you have a neat I think you have a neat name also.
do you like my name?
Well, my dad's name was Avrum, and his also last name is Rosenzweig, but we don't have a spelling issue in my family.
Yeah, you spell it correctly. We don't. I know. I've heard that.
That is correct.
Now, the reason why I'm so taken, and I think I was surfing on the net and I saw Rushy there, of which you do have a profile on the internet. Um, and I thought, my God, I've never met a Rushy before. And that really took me. And the reason why I was so taken by the name Rushy is because it's a classic name in Jewish learning. And we're going to get into that in a few minutes. Before we do, I do want to introduce Rashi and tell you a little bit about his background. He was born and raised in Bell Harbor in New York, and he made aliyah with his wife and sons way back in 1998, directly to Ranana, which is where he still lives. We'll give you a questionnaire later on Ranana, Rashi. See how well you know your home city.
Oh no, I should have brushed that.
We'll see how you know. 3 out of 5 would be fine.
Okay, cool.
He's an actor by profession, works in theater, film, TV, and voiceover, and he absolutely loves to write. And he calls himself a mad Zionist, which is good. That's a good thing. I'm a mad Zionist too, so we have that in common. So once again, welcome, Rashi Rosenzweig. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Thank you very much. It's uh doing well. Baruch
You know,
Hashem.
it's a tough time in Israel, isn't it?
Yeah, yes. I can
Okay.
say generally think before the 7th of October, I would say, well, we have our ups and our downs, but generally things are great. Now it's just good sometimes, a lot of times not really great, but we're all right. I mean, we had a siren this morning, 7:20 a.m. From our friends in Yemen, and
I saw your post online, something along of it's 4 in the morning. Oh shit, or something like that,
no,
right?
it wasn't oh shit.
It was it was one of those,
It consists of 4 letters, but not oh
and
shit.
it wasn't
And
love.
it was last Thursday at 4 in the morning. Yeah, yeah,
I felt for
that
you,
was
man.
sweet.
I felt for you. It's the worst to get up in the middle of the night, and to get up in the middle of the night because of a siren, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, one thing. My rabbi said this over Shabbat. He said, "Well, it's a good thing it was at 4 and not 5, because if it's at 5, you're not going back to bed, especially if you have kids." And he's absolutely correct. 4, you can go back to bed and snooze a little, and then you're up. But like 5, not happening.
It's an interesting distinction. Oh, thank
Yeah, and it's on our it's on our radar. That's the problem. That's our normal right now.
you. Yeah,
And
it is. All right,
what do I
let's
say?
dive into happy things here. I would like everyone to know that the name Rashi has multiple meanings and really comes out of various different cultures. It is a Hindu name. Rashi is name for girls that means collection, sign of the zodiac, wealth, or beautiful, like yourself, beautiful.
Thank you.
Some say that the name Rashi
You're correct.
reflects in intelligence and intuition and grace. And it is also a Sanskrit word that means collection as well, or array. In Vedic astrology, Rashi refers to the 12 equal zodiac divisions, each with its own ruling planet and distinct traits. Now, more indigenous to we, the Jewish people. Rashi is an acronym for Shlomo Yitzhaki, a medieval French rabbi and commentator, a very famous one, perhaps one of the most famous in all of Jewish learning. Rashi is also the name of a cemetery in Troyes, France, where Rabbi Shlomo, also known as Rashi the Holy, is buried. Rashi can also be used as a name for pets, apparently, which I've never heard. So let me ask you this. Have you met
Wow.
other Rashis?
Yes, there are. Um, I am friendly with several. Um, we're all pretty freaked out when we meet each other.
Yeah.
It's like when you meet an Avrum. It's like, yeah, okay, cool. I'm
Yeah,
Avrum
right,
too.
right.
But this is something else. This is a special club. I know one guy who's from Detroit. I met him years ago. Um, his name is Rashi, the Course, and he's from Detroit. But apparently, his name is like his name. I think it's an acronym. It's like he's got two names and his parents smashed it into one, but his name is like Rafael Shlomo or something. And I'm like, and when Rashi Shapiro, who's also Rashi like me, he told me that, I'm like, oh my God, it's like we're Coke and he's Pepsi. This is
Pepsi
what is
Light.
this?
Yeah.
I mean, will we let him in the club? Yeah, but he's got to sit in the back. Sorry, no front seat for you, man.
So do you
But
have any
yeah,
do you have any idea why your parents named you Rashi?
yeah, sure, they hated me.
And do they still?
If they were alive, probably. No, well, I'll tell you, it's a combination. My cousins and I, on my mom's side, many of us are named for my grandparents, and they were my my grandmother was Resha, which actually at one point it comes from Rochelle apparently, and the my grandfather was Noach, which is my middle name. So a lot of us are there were a lot of Ruven Noachs. There the girls unfortunately got Russia. I have one cousin who was smart. She changed it to Shoshana because who wants that name. Um, so my mother was trying to get creative. She spoke to an aunt of mine who named her son Rashi Noach. She goes, Marilyn, that was my mom's name. She goes, Marilyn, name him Rashi. That's what I did. He was a big rabbi. My mom remembered. She said, yeah, that's a great idea. And hocus pocus, here I am. So that was it.
And
So
has
it's a
it
combination of like definitely my grandparents as well as be nice to name for a very one of the greatest rabbis that ever were in I was going to say in the Olama Ashkenaz, but basically um um really the world.
yeah,
So
so
it was
the
cool.
Rabbi Shlomo Yitzhaki was born in Troy, France, 1040. He died in 1105. He was a
Correct.
French rabbi who authored comprehensive commentaries on the Talmud and on the Hebrew Bible, and he's commonly known by the rabbinic acronym Rashi. Now, my name Avram or Avram Yitzhak has mostly served me well in life. I grew up in Kitchener, Ontario. Have you ever heard of Kitchener?
Mhm.
Oh, you have?
Yes. My wife's grandfather and grandmother met in Ontario. They were both immigrated there. Her grandfather grew up in Montreal, but her grandmother grew up in Kirkland Lake.
Kirkland Lake.
Kirkland Lake. Her father, my wife's great grandfather, was a Rav, a Shochet, a Moel, and he was the Rav of the community. And there was a cute little community there. Must have been cold most days, but it was there, and that's where her grandmother basically grew up, and they had some nice roots in Ontario and basically Eastern Canada. And yeah, so I am familiar with some of the Canadian provinces and the cities. So yeah, sure.
And here's the kicker, and you and I have met once, I think, and we met by happenstance. My father tried out for a rabbinical job in Kirkland Lake.
No,
Yeah,
serious.
yeah, I'm serious.
That
Eventually,
is so
he
cool.
he settled on Kitchener, and he was there for 36 years until his demise in 1989. But he had tried out for a job in Kirkland Lake.
So they definitely crossed paths with my wife's family. Definitely,
Right.
they had to have, because he was the name. Her great grandfather's name was Rabbi Eliezer Rabinowitz,
Mhm.
and they were from Lithuania, and they actually descend from Rashi on her grandmother's side. So this is all really weird. So not only is my wife married to Rashi, she descends from him. So that's really kind of cool, I think.
We're small enough people that if you meet a Jew in a mall somewhere in Edmonton, Ontario, inevitably you're going to find some similarities between you
Sure.
and them. It happens. It's Jewish geography. It happens all the time, right?
Oh God, I win that game all the time. I literally do. I literally do. It's like my only gripe is like, can you make money off this? What is this? I'm good at this.
It's a good
Yeah.
idea. Start a board game, Jewish geography. But here we
Yeah,
can,
sure.
Rushy, we can even take this further. I have cousins who live in Ranana, one of whom is Josh
Sure.
Rosenzweig, whom you know, right?
I've met him. Yeah, I know the family. I've, I know his children. Um, and yeah, I know them pretty well.
Now,
I
your
know them
last
pretty
name is
well. I know Yo.
Rosenzweig with a Z. Mine is Rosenzweig with
Yes.
an S. And your thing is, and I like this joke, is whenever you see Rosenzweig with an S, you say, yes, but I don't have spelling problems, right? You do, right?
Oh yes, yes. I do know. I'm very familiar with your family. Lovely people, very cerebral.
They
You
are.
guys rock Yeshiva University. You guys, um, um, it's very weird. Jewish geography. Okay, here you go. Josh's father was not only the Rav in Kew Gardens, New
Correct.
York. My
Correct.
father-in-law was a member of his congregation.
Oh, wow.
When my father-in-law and my wife um, grew up there. She knew Rabbi Rosenzweig very well. He also, Rabbi Bernard Rosenzweig, taught in my school in Queens College. He gave a course in the history of anti-Semitism, and
Nice.
he was a brilliant man, really was. I met him a couple of times, um, and he also was a shotgun of my father-in-law and his current wife. You know, my stepmother-in-law. So yeah, we have ties to the Rosenzweigs aside from myself. So it's kind of cool. My brother-in-law in Beit Shemesh is a very close friend of Rabbi Yoni Rosenzweig, and Yoni is his Rav, and so yeah. We're connected over.
We're just getting closer and closer. I actually interviewed Yoni, as you know,
Yeah,
a few weeks ago, and I just had a great discussion with him. He's a good man. He's a good man. And
he's a brilliant,
you're right.
brilliant guy.
We're quite cerebral that side of the family.
You guys are.
We really
Now, if you
are.
only knew how to spell.
Yeah. But I will rush you. I will have you know that if you were to visit a cemetery, probably anywhere in the world where Rosenzweigs are buried, you would find endless amount of spelling for Rosenzweig, including one with a Z and a J in it, sort of the Polish way
C
of
CWAIG or something like that.
something
Yeah,
like that. Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. I went to visit my grandfather, which is way out on the west side here in Toronto, and I was looking for his gravestone, and it was a bit hard to find until I realized, oh, hang on, that's him right there, Meyer Rosenzweig. That's Beryl's father, rest in peace. But the name is spelled so
Mhm.
dramatically different, right? So the fact that you say Z
Yeah.
is the proper way and S is not, I'll have to challenge you on that.
Well, you know what? They were wrong too. I mean, who spells things CWAIJ? I mean, come on,
What kind of
stop.
nonsense is that, right? Are there many
Really,
are there many Rosenzweigs that you meet in Israel other than my family?
that's really funny. As I said, I'm an actor. I have met Rosenzweigs on auditions. I'm friendly with a couple. One in particular, she was in uh Hamalka Yofi Shel Yerushalayim, the Beauty Queen of Jerusalem. It was a fantastic series. I was literally addicted to it, and she was in the last season of it. And her name is Ella Rosenzweig, and we are friendly. Facebook, and I met her in on auditions and stuff. That's where actors meet each other. Aside from like acting studios and school, everybody meets each other at auditions. We all just, that's, and afterwards, after the audition, we either, go out for a coffee or maybe a pizza or something. So, yeah, she's a great girl. She's a lovely gal. She's a very talented person. And, so that's that. And, but, I've been involved in genealogy now for over 30 years. It's like one of my passions, really is. And, I did the DNA thing. Yes, it's true. I am Jewish. My parents were right all along. I paid so much money for that, for something I already knew. And also I have a couple of family trees we're working on, and I've been, really working on, both sides of the family. And every Rosenzweig I've met, I can't really pinpoint that I'm related to them. You know, I did the thing. I spoke with Josh about our name, and it turns out your family's was in Lodz.
Mhm.
You're from the Lodz Rosenzweigs. My grandfather was from Ukraine. So, but apparently it could be that they were originally from the Carpathian mountain region. I'm not sure. Could be.
Yeah, I know. My grandfather, I believe, was from a small town called Slipia, which I believe is not far from Lodz. Have you heard
Uh
of
huh.
that, Slipia?
Nope.
In current
Nope.
in modern Poland, it's called Slupia Noa, which is like the new Slipia, right?
I see.
I commend
Ah,
you, by the way, for being into genealogy, because I find that when I study my family, it's just so incredibly sad. I just
yeah.
found out that who I'm named after, Avrum Yitzchak, was actually murdered in the Holocaust,
Hmm.
and it's a very difficult history that we have in those terms. But I wanted to ask you a few minutes ago on a positive note. My name Avrum Yitzchak has, I would say, mostly has served me very well in life. I
Hmm.
was brought up in Kitchener, Ontario, which we discussed, and I went to public school. Now, the worst day of my life in Kitchener was the very first day of school. You remember when
Well,
the teachers would read out the names?
sure.
Okay, so in public, excuse me, in public school, there's a lot of Dave McClellans, Mike McDonald's, a lot of those names. And then she would come to
John
my
Johnson.
John Johnson. Excellent, right. And then she would come to my name and it would always be like Avrum Rosenzweig. And there was a lot of that. Right, right. And you remember as a kid, Russia as a kid, all you wanted to do was fit in, right?
Oh my God.
You know what I mean? You didn't want to be that dopey Jewish kid with the weird name, but
I didn't mind
I always
having the Jewish name. It was just 10 letters too long. I
right,
just,
right.
Cohen, 5 letters, fine. It's a no-brainer. Levine, something like that.
Yeah.
No, well, that's Rosenberg, something that people can, can pronounce. It reminds me, when we in the 90s, when we lived in Queens, my wife and I, we we rocked Land's End, and LL Bean. Okay, we loved it. I mean, great stuff, great clothing. Excellent clothing. And
Yes.
LL Bean, if you live in the Northeast, it's great. So, LL Bean is in Freeport, Maine, and Land's End is in Land's End, Wisconsin. All right. So you call up, you got a number. You call. This is the days when you actually had to dial 1-800 and call them, and they say, "Can you please read the reference number on the back of your magazine or the catalog?" I go, "Sure." I read it, and she goes, "Oh, hello, Mister Roy," and I'm sitting there waiting, because I'm sadistic. What can I do? I like to have fun. Rosensweig, yes, that one. I go, yeah.
That would be it. Now, would you say overall your name has served you well throughout your life?
Rosenzweig,
Rashi
uh,
Rosenzweig, has it done you well?
Rashi. Well, in America, not really. But here, yeah. In Israel, sure. I got out of a ticket once because of it.
Did you really?
I got out of a ticket. We are going to wear a lot, which is, this is when the companies that you work at would, sponsor a weekend away in a hotel, like, a real nice one. We were at the Princess.
Nice.
And so we're driving down there. I am in a bathing trunks. Okay, this is like you leave at joke o'clock in the morning. You dive in quickly, put your tefillin in your back seat, and then pile everybody in the car with all the luggage, and you start out at around 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning to Eilat. Because if it's you're leaving Saturday night, you want to have a good time.
Yeah.
So we're driving down there. It's like a 4.5 hour something drive. So basically, you're after Dimona, you get to road number 90, and there's like a whole lot of nothing. There's just desert. Like this is what the desert looked like, when the Jews were wandering about. This is basically what it looks like, except you're on the road. And then all of a sudden, on the tape deck, this is a while ago. I did say tape deck.
Yes, you
I
did.
have meatloaf.
Yeah.
Meatloaf. Okay. Now, when you have meatloaf on, there's only one song you're listening to. That's "Bat Out of Hell," which is
Yeah.
my song. Okay.
Yeah.
And when you're driving to Bat Out of Hell, you're not doing 50. You're doing about 80. There was nobody else on the road. It
It
was
was
joke
empty.
o'clock
It
in the
was
morning.
empty.
It
Yeah.
was empty. Well, I thought it was empty, but there was like this huge boulder to like around, say, 500 meters in front of me. And out from it was this adorable 5'2" little policeman doing jumping jacks. Like, oh well. My wife wakes up and she looks at me. She had a few words to say, like asshole. It's like whatever. And I pull over. Guy takes my things. I go, can my kids go out and water the weeds? He goes, sure. And then 5 long minutes afterwards, you hear this. "Mal Rosensweig, na legeshit," which means, Mr. Rosenzweig, please get over here. So I go over to him, and he's sitting in his van, and he's looking at my things, my information. He goes, "I clocked you at 124." Like that's in kilometers, you know. I was doing like 135, but whatever. I wasn't going to argue with him. He goes,
Yeah.
"But I have a question for you." And I'm sorry. I apologize. I have to go to Hebrew now. He goes, "Ata Rashi?" I go, "Yeah." Mind you, I'm in a baseball cap, a t-shirt, sits it over the t-shirt, flip-flops, and a bathing suit. Okay. He
Yes.
goes, "Ata Rashi?" I go, "Yeah." "Rashi? Ata Rashi?" "Yeah." "Hamza, Hamza, 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 Avinu Malkeinu chatati levanecha. איך אני יכול לתת לרש"י קנס?" Rashi HaKadosh Sala'at. His head was down. He couldn't even look at me in the face. I'm like,
Wow. Translate
thanks.
that. Rashi, translate what you just said.
Okay. So he goes, "You're Rashi?" And I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Rashi? You're Rashi?" I go, "Yeah." Hamza Hamza means, can't translate that. Hamza,
Against the evil
you know,
eye. Yeah.
against evil eye. Avinu Makenu, our Father, our King. I've sinned before you.
Wow.
How can I give Rashi a ticket?
Wow.
Rish, uh, the holy Rashi, please drive safely.
I love that. I love that.
It's hilarious. I finally
Yeah.
wrote it down. Wrote it down on my blog. People think it's funny. It's like you chalk it up. That is totally and only an Israel story. Nothing else.
Are you proud of your name? Do you like your name?
Yeah, sure. I do. I do. I do. It is an icebreaker.
Yeah, you'd
It
be
is.
great at a party. I think when we're younger, and tell me if you concur with this. I think that our names can be somewhat troublesome when we're younger. We want really simple ones. Like I said, we don't want to stand out. But as we get older, I think we become our names. Does that resonate with you?
It's funny. I always people tell me this. I always have something to say about something. I comment a lot, and I love wine. Rashi owned a vineyard.
Yes, correct.
I love wine. Love wine. Love wine. And I'm learning French now, which
Are
is
you?
really cool. Because go to Daf Almud Yomi, I go to Gemara Shir in the morning, and sometimes there were times that the Rav's like, you're going through the Rashi, he's like, this is an old French, and he'd say it, and he'd try to say it, and I was like, no, it's not pronounced cloister, it's cloister,
Yes.
cloister,
Yes.
cloisters, and I was like, yeah, that was so cool. He was like, it's the French. You can actually relate to it. With something like, you're Gemara for all things. You relate to it on somewhat of a personal level. It's really, really cool. So yeah, I like that. But yeah, I've been learning
You know
French
what's
also.
interesting to we in the diaspora is that, if we were to hear a name like Rashi Rosenzweig over a loudspeaker, okay,
Yeah,
all the Jews would stop and we would look at each other, probably smile and look for the fellow himself. I'm going to guess that
yeah,
when you're in Israel in a hamburger joint, right? And you have to give your name and you give a number, and then all of a sudden the person making the burger, Rashi Rosenzweig, your hamburger is ready, right?
yeah.
That's probably
Yeah,
not a
but you
big
know
name.
what? But it's not the name Rashi. It's like even the like. First of all, one of the great things about living here is that even Chilonim, the non-religious, know who Rashi is.
Yes, yes,
Okay,
yes.
you ask any marginally affiliated, non-affiliated Jew in anywhere in North America,
They won't
they
know.
have no idea what you're talking about. No idea, no idea.
I mean,
And
to me, that's the fascinating thing about Israelis, as you said, regardless of their background in terms of dot, in terms of religion,
mhm.
if they're secular, like through and through, they still know Tanakh,
Absolutely.
right?
There was one girl. It was one girl. It was on a. It was on I was shooting a commercial. This is so many years ago, and she goes, "Kumbcha Rashi." And your name's Rashi. I go, what about Ritva? Like the Ritva? How the hell? And they would know. Sometimes they
Rashbam.
do. Yeah, Rashma. One time. This was so many years ago. I wanted to get in touch with somebody in Brooklyn, an old friend of mine, and she was staying at somebody's house in Brooklyn in Borough Park, I think. And I go, "Hi, my name is Rashi Rosenzweig. I'd like to speak to someone." So it goes, "Hi, Rashi. I'm Rambam." And I'm thinking, dude, I heard it all. It wasn't funny the first time, but if you think you're funny, I'm glad for you. He goes, "No, that's my name." I go, "No, really, dude. I really have to speak to this person." "No, my name is Rambam so and so." I go, "Really?" He goes, "Really?" I go, "Who the hell names their kid Rambam?"
Yeah, yeah, exactly right. Hey, listen, man, I've met an Einstein in life. Have you ever met an Einstein?
No, I knew a guy who had a dog named Einstein.
Yeah, dogs for sure. This guy's name was Einstein.
Wow.
Yeah. So when people choose names, and names are getting stranger and strangers. What are some
Yeah.
strange names in Israel today?
Strange.
Yeah, like
Strange.
when I was younger, Yafit. I always thought, like, why would you name someone after your feet? But Yafit.
Yeah.
Right? Are there any strange ones today?
It's strange. Dekel is strange,
Yeah, it
I
is.
think.
It is. Yes.
Dikla only no, that's not new. That's not nouveau.
It's not.
That's like 70s, 80s. Um a lot of times girls are getting boys names now.
Are they?
Like
Like,
there are a lot of
Noah.
names that are intersex, like Amit, rotem, it's a type of desert flower.
No,
Adi,
Noah.
no, well, Noah is a beautiful name. I
Noah.
love. It's a beautiful name. I love that name.
It's my son's name.
You will not find a boy with that name. It's not. First of all, it's not the same. My middle name in English, Noah, is Noach. So
Noah.
my middle name is Noach. But
Yes.
Noah doesn't mean that at all. It means something else. It means I forgot. Noah doesn't mean it has nothing to do with Noach. It's a Nun Vav Ayin, and Noach is
Oh,
Nun Chet.
oh.
So it's just in English it sounds the same, but it's cool. And yeah, what other? There are a few others that are not really. I mean, you can tell it's like it fits well. It does fit well, but weird, weird. I don't know.
Yeah, I've seen people who have been named after kings in Tanakh in the writings,
Yeah, sure.
but not nice kings.
Well, we had Menashe, who was the worst.
Yeah, my
Only
uncle was
Menashe, the
good one. Yes.
Menashe was there was also the Shevet Menashe ben Shel Yosef, but there was also a Menashe Melech who was the lowest form of crap there ever was. He was
Right.
horrible man, horrible.
Right.
Like um,
And my uncle was Menashe.
I hope he was not named for him.
He was a fine man, though. He was a good man.
I'm sure he's a lovely man. He's a Rosenzweig.
Well, he was a Flecht, actually.
Oh, okay, it was a flicht.
Have you ever
Also
heard
cool.
that name, Flecht?
No.
No, most people haven't. It's short for
No.
Flichtentrau. that's another show. I want to get a broader context of who you are, Rashi
Okay.
Rosenzweig. We have a pretty good background now about your name, and I continue to be fascinated by the fact that you are Rashi Rosenzweig. It's a great alliteration, right?
Hmm.
Right. And there's just so much. Like you put Rashi Rosenzweig to Chat GBT, and you could come up with a whole essay on, its
Really? I
roots.
never did that.
You should try
Well, I'll
it.
do that.
Try it,
I
man.
will, sure.
But
Oh
yeah,
my
right.
God.
Write an essay about the name Rashi Rosenzweig. You'll be blown away by it.
Oh my God. I hope it's real. I hope it's not fake.
Yeah, some of
Wow.
it's not.
It'll
That's
be,
the
but
that's
you want to be so weird? Like if you put it on Chat GPT and I put that query in,
yeah.
and if it comes out 100% accurate,
Mm.
wow, that's going to creep me out, man. I won't be able to sleep.
Yeah, you have
Like,
to start rolling with that. You got to roll with AI, man. In fact, I have a
I love
poem. I,
AI.
I have a poem written about you called "Ode to Rashi Rosenzweig" that I'm gonna read at the end, and it's written by AI.
No.
Yeah, it's written by AI. You're gonna like it.
What?
Yeah, you're gonna like it. Yeah. But Rashi, before we go there, okay?
All
You
right.
you live in Ranana.
Yes.
Firstly, give us a sense of the geographical location of Ranana.
Ranana is located in between um, to the east of us is Kfar Saba, to the west of us is Herzliya. Um, it's shaped like kind of like a bowl, really. It can be very uncomfortable here in the summertime, very humid. Um, the place has really exploded a lot in the past 27 years that we've been here. It's 27 years this summer. It's I can't even remember what it looked like back when we initially came on aliyah. Well, the first time I even visited here, which was in 1994, I think.
Mhm.
Um, and or was it? No, 1993. Excuse me. Um, Other than that, it's really a bustling small city. Um, it's home to many immigrants. On my side of town, we have a lot of British, a lot of South African. There are Americans, but the Americans are more towards the east side of town, really.
Mhm.
I'm in our shul, Shiftei Yisrael. We've been members there for, oh God, 24, 25 years. Um, we're the minority. We're the minority.
Well,
But it's an English.
who do you like hanging out with? The British, the South
You want
Africans,
to
or
know
the
something?
Americans?
Anybody. Anybody.
Really, you don't sort of have a if you had a choice.
No, I don't discriminate. I feel like I come on Aliyah to, I hate to sound, um, at the risk of sounding ethnocentric, I came on Aliyah to be with my people, with
Yeah,
Jews.
yeah.
I'm not going to hold it against you where you're from, be you African or British, or French, or I have, or other European or Australian or New Zealanders. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me much. I know there are to some people it actually does matter to them, but it doesn't matter to me at all.
So call a to you. When I first went to Israel, I think it was in 1978. I went to yeshiva in
Hmm.
Jerusalem in a place called Sanhedria. It was a Haredi yeshiva.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a Haredi
Oh
yeshiva.
yes, it was.
Yes, it was. And I remember there was a great distinction between the Sephardic community in Israel and the Ashkenazi community.
Sure.
There was a lot of racism.
Hmm.
And does that still exist or no?
Unfortunately, yes. Uh, you find that you'll find that more in Haredi communities, not really with us at all. Um, I've heard of many different things that really pissed me off, that make me turn my stomach. Really, um, there are you see within again you see within the Haredi enclaves. You see it in Bnei Brak, you see it in parts of Yerushalayim, where um, just when they're marrying their children off, it's I don't know where it comes from. I really don't. They will. It's very difficult for say a Sephardic or Mizrahi boy to be married to an Ashkenazi girl. Her parents will not allow it, only if she comes from a lower income family or there's something wrong with her or something like that. They did stand up against it and just do their own thing and be with their own, like the Shasnikim. I know that's a political party, Shas, but also the lifestyle of the Shasnik. Um, Basically, they really don't have much to do with the Ashkenazim, but only when it comes to like sending your kids away to yeshiva if they're going to go to Mir or to something like that, Torah or Slobodka or whatever, or Panovich. Um, and it's sad. I personally have no tolerance for it. I really don't. It's so ridiculous. Um,
Yeah, there's like really no basis for this whatsoever. I mean,
it's complete stupidity.
there's
It really
beauty,
is.
there's beauty in all communities, and like you
No,
said
I do.
before,
I do have a relative in. I most definitely will not name names. Uh, in a very Haredi city. I'm not even going to say the city. There was a problem. I read this like maybe 10, 12 years ago in this city where Sephardim and Mizrahim were not allowed to be rented to in this specific building.
mm,
I mean, like that would be so illegal in the United States that you have no problem. There's no question. You cannot rent them. They're not allowed to. What are you talking about?
yeah, yeah.
And they won't. Ashkenazim held that they cannot live here. And so I spoke to my cousin, and he found no problem with that. I go, "What is wrong with you?" And he goes, "Well, he goes, "I'm surprised at you." And I go, "Yeah, that doesn't work with me. What is wrong with you? How dare you? Who the hell do you think you are? You think that's okay?" I could, for the life of me, I just couldn't, you know, I didn't even want to go there anymore because, you can't rationalize the irrational.
Well,
And
what's fascinating too is that he had no idea what you were talking about.
he did have no idea why there was anything. I had a problem with it.
Why you'd have a problem with that? Yes, exactly.
Yeah, like why? Yeah, exactly. If you were to say,
I
"Look, you
think
don't live here, mind your own business,"
right, right,
that
right.
would actually make more sense in a way. But he really had no idea why I was upset.
But by the way, this is an area that I've been thinking an awful lot of about because of the political differences in America today and really in the free world about how people think and why other people do not get their thinking. And I've spent a lot of time trying to figure out how that works, and I haven't arrived at any solid conclusion. But that being said, so not to go down that road, I want to do a little bit of a quiz on Ranana. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready as I'll ever be.
Look, you seem so upset.
A
Okay.
little cautious.
Okay, here we go. Much luck to you, by the way. And if you get
Thank
five
you.
out of five, we'll give you a brand new car.
Great. Not a Matchbox. I want a Tesla.
Yeah, we'll give you a Kia. Sorry.
Oh,
Which
whatever.
district? You remember the Israeli-made cars, the Susitas?
I heard of them.
I saw them.
You saw them?
I was in yeshiva in 1978. And you know
Oh
what?
my
You
God.
know what they said about the Susitas? That if you leave them out in the parking lot, they were made out of fiberglass, I think, and camels would come and start eating them. Like this Michigas. I don't know if it's
Susitas, like Sus,
Susita.
like horse.
Yeah, they're
Oh, okay.
yeah, Susitas. Yeah.
Like, you know what? I think the way we are with high tech and everything, and how we are one of the leading nations in high tech, there's no question. It's us, it's Japan and Germany. Um, I mean, like, could you imagine what we do with cars? But it would be a waste of money. It would be such a waste. Nobody would buy them.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's true. You have to be very, very honest. If they could, they would do it.
What
I
do you
think they
drive, by
really
the
would.
way? What do you drive?
I don't drive. I don't. I do drive, but I don't have a car right now.
Is that good?
I, yeah, actually, it is. First of all, you want to know something? I don't like driving.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't like it. I I I really don't. First of all, we have the trains. I love taking the railroad.
Yeah.
I hate buses. I'd rather walk. I'm serious. I'm very, very spoiled that way. When I do my shopping, like every week, I go to the supermarket in the industrial zone, the Azor Tasia. I get a delivery. I'm very
Ah,
spoiled and very proud to say so. If I need a car, I rent one and I have a good rate with somebody, so I'm good. Like I have a wedding 3rd of April, so I'm going to need a car for that. But like,
where's the wedding?
I forgot.
Do you wear a suit? Do you wear a suit to your weddings?
Oh, funny. Nah.
No.
Well, maybe I'll wear a jacket but no tie.
Right.
I don't even know where my ties are.
Yeah.
Last time I wore ties, it was my son's wedding.
When
This
was that?
was in January 24,
Oh, okay.
4th of
Muzzle top.
January 24.
Muzzle
Thank
top.
you.
All right.
Thank you.
Let's get to this Ranana quiz. Which district is Ranana part of in Israel?
The Sharon.
All right. How do you say that in English? Do you know?
The Sharon.
I was thinking of a little bit more. Central District of Israel.
Okay. The Mekaz said
Okay,
it.
here's a tough one. We'll give you a double. We'll give you a bonus for this. What year was Ranana officially founded?
1922.
Yeah, very good. Excellent. How did you know that?
I'm from Ranana.
Yeah, I guess.
And
Welcome to
extra
Ranana.
credit,
Yeah, extra
the
credit.
extra credit, founders of Ranana from the Lower East Side, New York
Really?
City. Yeah. I like saying that to the South Africans and the British who think
Right.
they own Ranana. I
Put
go,
them in their place.
listen, you little constipated pain in the neck. That's why
See, I
you
told
talk
you.
like that. Oh, please. I have fun. I don't care. You got to stop caring. Then life is great.
Right.
You know, founded by people who live down the block from my mother on Delancey Street. Do me a
No?
favor.
What were their names?
They, there was Perlmutter. There was Ostrovsky. They were Baruch. What's his name? That was Baruch Ostrovsky, the first Rosh Moatzani is from New York. From what else? There was Perlmutter, Ostrovsky. I forgot the others. Some of their descendants still live here, and they're very Israeli. This is going over 100 years ago, man.
Did you remember
So,
visiting your grandmother in the Lower East Side?
no, I never met. I was named for her, so I never met her. She lived in the Lower East Side. She's from Lublin in Poland,
Yeah.
in Komarov actually, and lived there. And then they moved up to the Bronx. And then after my grandfather died, some years later, they moved to the Rockaways, where I was born, in Rockaway Beach.
In
And
Queens, yes. Yeah.
yeah, so that was for them. It was like a paradise, really. We're
At the
talking
time.
about, in the summertime, my mom would tell me, it was on the hot nights they would sleep out on the fire escape.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there's something romantic about you New Yorkers. It's just
Yeah,
so colorful and
I love
just
it.
so much depth, huh?
But it's really cool. I'm a huge Harry Potter fan.
Yeah,
Love Harry Potter. Love
yeah.
Harry Potter. I think it is the best nonfiction ever written, and next to the Bible, of course,
Yeah. And Shakespeare.
um, and Shakespeare. Yeah, who, mind you, he was not an anti-Semite, but that's another story.
It's a machlokus, by
Um,
the way. It's a machlokus.
no, he didn't even know Jews. Jews didn't live in
Yeah,
his area at the time.
I just did a whole show with a Shakespeare expert, and he would not agree with you.
I have a friend of mine. She's an MD, and how do I know her? Acting. She got big into acting. She went and did a PhD. She's an MD. She was a family doctor. I think she was actually a pediatrician. She did an MD, PhD in Shakespearean drama.
Okay.
And I asked her, I said, so was he an anti-Semite? She goes, no, absolutely not. Absolutely. He made fun of anti-Semites. She goes, he was a hippie who was just unfortunately living in the 16th century. And that's how she put it. And it made sense.
All right, fair enough. We'll stay with that for now.
But okay, so where was I?
We're in
I went on a
we're
tangent.
in our Ranana quiz. You're doing actually very well. You're 2 for 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, here's one which you should for sure get. What is the population size of Ranana?
Oh, wow.
We'll give you 5 to 10,000 within 5 or 10,000. Ballpark.
I'm gonna
Give me
say
ballpark.
I'm gonna I'm gonna say around 85,000
Yeah, yeah,
people.
bingo. Yeah, it's 85,000.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes. Does it seem like that much?
Yeah.
It
Yes.
does.
Yes. And it's getting bigger, so we're getting more they're building more neighborhoods as we speak. So yeah, I
Did you
think it'll
know?
be up to 100,000 in, say, 5 years time.
Is it rich? I always think of Ranana as being rich.
It's middle class. It's middle class. Not everybody here is rich.
Okay.
Not everybody is rich. There
All
are
right.
wealthy people here.
Yeah.
Look, Naftali Bennett lived here.
Oh, did
A
he?
lot of
Okay.
people, that if you were to, there are parts of Ranana we like, say, where the Americans live, where Kilat Ohel Arias. Walk around there, you look at the houses, and these people are not poor. You don't live in such grand looking places. I mean, it's not Caesarea.
Mhm.
It's not like that, but it's nice. It's good. It's 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 a place that's in good shape.
You know what I love about Israel, by the way, just a sidebar here. We're being somewhat ADHD, and that's more coming from me.
Uh-huh.
You talked about a political figure living in Ranana. And what I always enjoy very much about going for a coffee in Israel, spending a lot of time in Jerusalem, I love Jerusalem, is there you are, you're sitting at a cafe and you look next to you and you're sitting next to Nathan Sharansky, right?
Yeah,
One of the
sure,
great icons of the Jewish people.
sure.
Do you have experience like that?
Two things. One was Naftali Bennett.
Yeah.
I yelled at him. I'm not kidding. I did. I met him several times. But one time, why I was really pissed off then, during the voting, during the time of the elections, what they'll do is they have everybody's cell phone number. They'll spam you on your messages
Yes.
with vote for me, vote for me, vote for me. Now look, I told them, I said, you guys got to stop this shit. Stop now. He was sitting there having pizza with this kid.
Oh,
I
I
was like,
hate that. I hate that.
I was like,
Ah,
give them animal
chutzpah.
privacy. But
Yeah,
I
yeah.
said, listen, Naftali, listen to me. You want me to vote for you? I'll vote for you. Stop it. Because if you keep it up, I'm not voting for you. Do you understand? It's very simple. Tell your friends, stop.
Right.
Nobody likes it. Well, we know we have a literature. We know you guys. Look, in Ranana, we're very proud of you. We want you to be there. We say that our neighbor is now the prime minister. But you know what, dude? You're really pissing me off right now. So please go.
What
Okay,
did he
okay. You're
say?
right, Rosh. He said, you're right, Rosh. You're right. You're right. you know,
Yeah.
you know I was right
All
because
right.
he's also American.
What was the
Oh,
second
the
story?
second guy. Oh, this one was cool. This is acting. Okay. There was a bakery that I buy my challahs from now for many years. And there was this very large man who used to sit up front and have a coffee with a couple of his friends. Looked kind of familiar, couldn't place him, whatever. His name was Paul Smith. You know
Paul
who he
Smith.
is?
No.
You know the name? Oh, of course you do. You ever see Popeye with Robin Williams?
Yes. Yes.
Bluto.
Oh, he was Pluto.
He was Bluto.
Oh,
He was Bluto. He's fucking
that's a
Bluto.
score. That's a
Oh,
score.
what? What? That's you? Sweetest man ever. I didn't even know he was Jewish, let alone tell. Yes, he is. At birth, he weighed 14 pounds. This man was humongo gongo. He was such a big guy. I mean, his poor mother, 14 pounds. In those days, there was no such thing as, oh my God. Can you imagine? Anyway, no, and I told him I was an actor, whatever. I would sit and have coffee with him. We chat. And sometimes if I had an audition I was doing, give me very sweet man would give me advice and stuff every time I saw him. Like,
Was Paul
and then he
Ghost?
went by
Sorry, finish.
he went by Aiden by then, by Eden. I like Garden of
Yeah.
Eden,
See,
which is also a
that's another very interesting aspect of Israel, where you meet people who were NBA players in America,
sure.
and then they come to
Oh,
Israel, and then they become Hasidic. You know?
you mean Amare?
Yes,
You and he
yes.
was at my house. He was at my house one Friday night. Amare,
Of
that one.
course he was. Of course
He
he was.
was, baby. He
Of
was my
course.
baby. Well, let me tell you what happened. So, I reached out to this guy. He's a Gerrit Tzedek. His name is Mordechai Ben Avram. Lovely guy,
A
very stark.
convert to Judaism. Yeah.
Yeah, stark, good fellow, good guy. And we became friendly. Whatever. It was this great write up about him in Jerusalem in the Jerusalem Post. And long story short, he calls me up one day. He goes, Rashi, I'm going to be in Ranana for Shabbat. I go, oh, cool. He goes, yeah, I'd like to come to you for Oneg Shabbos on Friday night. I go, yeah, okay, great.
Why not?
And I'm going to bring a couple of friends of mine. And I go, Okay. And he goes, one guy's Zachariah. And I go, and then I go, who's the other guy? He goes, well, do you know anything about basketball? And I go, question. I'm from New York. Yeah, I know basketball. He
That's
goes,
awesome.
okay, the other guy is Amare Stoudemire.
Oh.
And I go, what in the name of what did you just say? He
Yeah.
goes, Amare Stoudemire. I go, I heard you. He goes, so can he come over? And I go, this is what I said. Okay. I remember that thing when I
In
did my
that tone of
shopping.
voice.
I just like bought everything. I just like my wife was buying fruit. She
They're
was buying
big
this. That.
boys.
Yeah, they're big boys. It
They're
was Amari
huge.
student. It was student. It was Amari student. And so like Friday night comes. Generally speaking, in my house, my wife, generally we bench. She goes and starts reading. I read, we have wine. I have wine. As I said, wine. Do the washing up, whatever. And then, we're waiting for them. They're not coming. I went downstairs a few times. Not, and so, Ranana is like Ranana, very Jewish. Here are these three black guys walking
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't care how it sounds. I'm being honest, man. Anyway, they were asking, "Where's Rashi live?" The people point this way. It's like not like black guys. One of them is about the size of the Jolly Green Giant. What the hell? You're just walking by like it's normal. Anyway, and so my son says, Abba, there's a knock at the door, and right behind the peephole of these three black guys outside my door. Open it up, and you hear this big guy comes in. He goes, "Good Shabbos."
Hey,
Right?
Chavez.
He sits us down to his ankles, and
Fascinating.
like it was around 11 o'clock when they came. My wife, she was not going to go to sleep until she saw this. She had to come down. She goes, "Oh, okay, welcome, Shabbat Shalom, welcome to our home. I just had to see this. Okay, I'm going upstairs."
Isn't that something,
And
eh?
she went up, and we were sitting in our house talking Torah until like after 1 in the morning.
Were you really?
Yeah, it was
Oh,
the coolest shit. It really was so cool. And yeah, I've seen him around sometimes. I was at Mordechai's, got engaged. It was at his fort, at his engagement party. And I'm like waiting for him. All of a sudden, here comes Amare, the black jacket over his shoulders.
yeah.
He's a little
Yeah.
slouched over, the hat in the back of his head. And I'm like, wow.
It's phenomenal. Isn't it
It's
something, eh?
amazing. It's amazing. And he's a lovely guy. Really is a lovely guy.
See, that's what I love about Israelis and being in Israel, which is a place that I hope to make my home when my son is old enough, are these stories.
Yeah.
And these stories are not unusual in terms of they're not just local to you. They happen to everybody, right? It's a
Yeah.
small
Yeah,
country.
but a lot. Yeah, sure.
It's a small country,
It
right?
is. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
All
Absolutely.
right. Here's another Ranana question.
Sure.
What is the significance of the Ranana Park and why is it popular amongst residents and visitors?
Significance?
Yeah. It's a very general question, very general answer. What do you like about the
It's
Ranana Park?
what do I like about it? It's a park. It's nice.
It's nice.
I
It's a nice
used to bring
park.
the kids in when they were little. It's a lot of land. They got a little monkey thing there, a Pinat Chai, little petting zoo. Well, not a petting zoo, but it's a zooish little thing. Um,
Okay, Ranana Park is a large urban park that offers a variety of recreational activities such as walking, cycling, boating. It's a popular spot for relaxation and outdoor events. Okay, forget that. Which major highways provide access to Ranana?
okay, the 531, the
Yeah.
number four, and the
Yes.
two.
Yes. I don't have number two here. Is that newer?
No, that's Kvish Achov.
Okay.
Well, it connects to the 531. It's a 531 and the four mostly.
Okay. Last question. You're doing very well.
Thank you.
You're welcome. What is the name of Ranana's Municipal Cultural Center and what type of activities are hosted there?
That's going to be, there's one of two. There's Yad Banim, and there's also the Mishkan Omoniot, the Mishkan of music and art. And it's a part of, really, it's part of Metro West High School. And they have a lot of, I performed there. My youngest son, studied music. He was a voice major in
Wow.
high school. He said he was, and so they were attached to there, and it's actually an excellent program through Metro West High School. My son went to a different one, but even kids from other high schools go to this school, for this major, and that's basically it. It's yeah, a lot of good stuff there.
Right,
I
right.
just
So the
saw
Ranana Cultural Center hosts a variety of activities, including concerts, theater performance, art exhibitions, and educational programs. How many children do you have?
I have 4 boys.
Do you have any grandchildren?
Not yet, no.
Are
I
they
mean,
married? Are they married? One of them is married, right?
one of them is married. Yeah, my number 3 is married. Got married in January 24, and
Are they a fortune in Israel weddings?
funny. Well, they're expensive, but like with us, it was kind of unfortunate yet fortunate. It was the beginning of the war. My son was already in. He was in Miluim. He was already brought into the war the very day it started on the 7th of October. When I came home from shul, shul was let out. It was, it was Shabbat. It was also
Simchat Torah.
Shmini Atzeret, Simchat Torah, and there was no dancing. There was no dancing. We didn't even know, by the time when we were in shul, we didn't even know the how what was going on in the south. We just know that there was an invasion of some sort, and there was missiles at 6:30 in the morning. We had no idea the depth and how at that moment what horror was going on. And so I come home and I ran upstairs and I screamed up, Mutty, turn your phone on now. And about an hour or so later, he was in a car on the way to his base. Um, so that's that. A couple of months later, he had gotten engaged 2 days beforehand in Greece to his girlfriend, Santorini. And then, yeah, so he on the 4th of January got married. And weddings then, when you have a wedding during the war, there's a lot of different things. Your kid's in the army. What about his friends? His friends in the who are serving and stuff, and you can only have X amount of people on certain times, and so it was a lot cheaper than we thought. But so we didn't pay so much money. But when he wanted to bring in his pluga,
His unit.
his unit, it cost us only 50 shekel a head, which was a joke. Just a joke. So it was really lovely.
How were you at the wedding?
I was a wreck.
You were
My
wrecked.
first kid getting married. I'm a very sensitive sort. He's one kid. All my kids apparently look like me, but he's actually really does look a lot like me.
Yes.
And he also acted professionally. Like also 3 of my 4 kids acted. So he so for me it was yeah, this was special. This really was.
Like, what do you mean a wreck? Define that.
I was a train wreck. I just
You,
was.
you tell me like what you were feeling.
I was just very emotional. I was very I was like I didn't believe this was happening. It was very surreal to me. I look at myself as a kid that never grew up. I
Mhm,
got Peter Pan syndrome. I have
mhm.
no problem with it. No, I don't intend to. No, I do not intend on taking medication for it. I happen to like it. Thanks. It's good. Um, so for me, it's something already this time in my life where my kids are already not only leaving the nest, but finding their betrothed, the bashert. It's for me, it was really really something else.
Rashi,
So
when my son was bar mitzvahed,
uh,
I got up and spoke. He's now
yeah,
18. He'll be 19, God willing, in April. And I got up and spoke, and I just started sobbing.
yeah,
I couldn't stop crying.
yeah. I remember when Donnie, my oldest, had his bar mitzvah in 2005, and we did it at the hotel. And it was a little restaurant in the hotel we went to. It was really nice. It was also very crowded. We had so many people. And I got up and spoke. And you have to understand, my parents passed away when Donnie, who's now he's 33.
Yes.
My number 2 is 32. They were very small children at the time. Um, it was very difficult for me because my parents were not there, and my
Yes.
mother would have probably sold the souls of her neighbors to be at her first grandson's bar mitzvah. It's so for me it was. I had my moment. I cried a little at when I spoke. And I remember when I went downstairs, we were cleaning up to bring things home. I just like went into a corner and I just was
Just
heaving
sob.
sobs like nobody's business. And I got it out and I just went about my business. That was, so it was the same thing for Moti, who was named for my parents. It was, Stoll. Yeah.
Well, on October the 7th, you told your son to keep his phone on,
I
and
told him to turn it on. Yeah.
and he did. And within a very short while, he was in a car going to his base, his basis.
Hmm. Hmm.
What's that like as a parent to know that that's what's happening, and there's a very good possibility he'll be heading into
Right.
a war zone?
Oh, um, excellent question. My children do know me pretty well. And one thing that I did say at first, it was all wishy washy because people were just getting information, at that moment. We really didn't know what was going on. Um, at first, he said, "Oh, we might be going, but I don't think so." And I just was lying down on the couch. And then all of a sudden, I said, "What's going on now?" He was talking to somebody. I said, "What's going on?" He looked at me, he goes, "Your worst nightmare." And I was like, "Oh, great. Yeah, good. Cool." So I was nervous, but he assured us when he got to the base, he assured us that he was not going down to Gaza. He was going to be at a place in a base near Ramallah, um, which isn't great, but it was definitely a better than Gaza. And because the soldiers that were there, they had to replace them. The soldiers that were there in Ramallah or near Ramallah, they had to go to Gaza. So my son was there, and he was. I don't even know if he was in Gaza at all. He might have been, but he was most of the time overseeing Ramallah, guarding the border patrol over there. So it was pretty cool. He was never up north either. So and we were, we have a lot to be thankful for. Myself, my wife, and my daughter-in-law. Of course, the rest of our family. Um, he fortunately was in a good place, or say relatively better place. Can't say it was 100% safe, but it was definitely better off. So I'm very pleased.
Being a father of four boys, there is something to that more so than just having, half a baseball team. In Israel, when you have four boys, does the thought run through your mind at the bris, one day my son could be fighting in a war?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Especially, we always wanted to make aliyah. My first three were born in Long Island Jewish Hospital, you know, in
Far away
New
from
Hyde
Gaza.
Park, New York. We're pretty far away from Gaza. Israel was a dream, but we intended to do it. And as any Oleh, even though no matter how determined you are to make aliyah, it doesn't until you are actually, you know, on the plane, you really don't believe it. It's
Mhm,
not reality.
mhm.
It's more of a dream. But especially when my my number four son was born, he was born here, my youngest son. Then those words that you just said, that actually went on in my mind. This could, we're giving a birth to a soldier. This is, it's yeah, absolutely.
And how is he doing, your youngest son?
He's fine. He didn't have to serve. He was what we call a jobnik. He had a
Yeah,
job,
Joe. Yes.
so he was fine with me. And to everybody out there who's listening to this, you're either living in Israel or planning to make aliyah, and your kid is young, and you're dreaming about your son being the heroic soldier, which is wonderful. If your son gets or your daughter gets a job as a jobnik, be just as proud.
Mhm, mhm.
You know why? Because they're serving the country. They're still in an Israeli uniform that says Tzahal on it, IDF, and you could sleep better at night.
Well, what is it, Rashi? What is a job, Nick? Tell us what it is.
Basically, they work in offices. My son worked in actually a college, an academic institution for soldiers and for officers. So that's where he worked there. He worked in the offices there. It sounds boring only because it was, but that's where he was. And my wife and I were very pleased. And he was fine. He was a good soldier. He did his job. When he did his training, he was actually a good shooter. He was a good sniper, but they didn't bring him in for uh, combat. You know, and he's a small guy. He's not bulky like my other children are. He's actually quite thin. So I'm fine with it. It's good. We're all good with it.
Yeah, no, I understand why you're saying that perfectly, as much as I possibly can as a diaspora Jew. Well, what is the relationship between the Jobnikim and the Chayelim who actually go into Gaza?
And the lochamim
Yeah,
and the
the
fighters.
fighters, yeah.
I mean, you mean if there's animosity or
I
resentment?
know
There
I'm
isn't
not, I have
any.
no premise here. I'm just wondering, is there, oh, I'm a fighter, you're a Jobnik. I mean, is there that difference or not really?
I don't think so. I'm sure the things like that happen once in a while, but generally speaking, no, I don't think so. I don't think so. I'm sure they have their moments, but generally speaking, on a macro sense, nah.
How was your wife in all of this?
Fine. We were on the same page the entire time. We really were.
Mhm.
We really were. So it was cool. I'll tell you, my two older sons didn't serve for medical reasons, and we actually tried very hard to get them to uh, serve. As a volunteer, you can actually go serve as a volunteer, even though if you're exempt with a medical exemption. But still, it didn't work out, which was hard for them and hard for us because it's hard for them because by the time they're 16 in high school, that's all they're talking about is the army. They're
Mhm.
talking about the Tzav Rishon. They're um, which means first command, which means their entry level exams and physical for the army, and they talk about this and they talk about that, and their friends are doing this, and you know maybe we can go to course Tayas, Air Force, become a pilot, or go into some elite combat unit, all this fun stuff, or even Modine, intelligence, which is really cool. And yeah, I have a lot of friends who have kids in there, and it's yeah, that's all they talk about. So when one gets left out, it's tough. It's hard
Yeah,
because
not
I
good.
remember we were talking to a cousin of my cousin-in-law who was he's the menahel at the Rova at the girls' school, the Rova seminary, and we were discussing it a bit because my oldest was having a hard time, and he said, "Look, even if he has a job neck and he's just working in a uniform, that really boosts their ego."
Mhm.
And he does. He most certainly does. When they see their friends, they're like, "Hey," and they all have their backpacks, and maybe one is carrying his M16 or something or a gun, and it doesn't matter if they're not using it. But like, still, they see each other. They grew up together. Now they're chayalim, and it's even though one might be working in like what my youngest son was doing, or another guy is working guarding patrolling Ramallah, they're still like you know brothers. There's that issue. So it's yeah, but unfortunately it didn't work out. But it's all for the best. It's cool.
Have you yourself done any form of tiranut, basic training?
No, I did. I worked in when I was 18. My parents gave me a high school graduation present for working, and I went to Volunteers for Israel, which is
Mhm.
nice, but it's a joke. It really is a joke. Other than that, no. I remember when it came on aliyah, I really wanted to do something. I really did. It was really important to me, but no, it wouldn't let me. I was already too old. I was 31. I was married with children, so it was too. If I was like say 25, 26, they would have done something. But they were also selling to us, look, you're 31 years old. Do you actually want to take rules and orders from somebody 19 years old? Are you kidding me? And you're going to have to listen to them. Do you understand? And it's not just like you know, like work. Like a lot of times us older folks when we're working in offices and stuff, and all of a sudden you have a manager or a senior manager who might be 20 years younger than you. You're going to have to respect them and listen to them. You know. So, but that's work. That's one thing, and people do have a problem with that. We're talking about like it's the army. Sometimes these 18, 19-year olds are still, you know, sorry to use the term retarded, and they're just going to just try to kick your ass around. And they do that. It's known. Um, do you really want to tolerate that? I go, no, I don't. Fine. Don't worry about it. I didn't.
So what would you say then is your major contribution to the state of Israel?
Oh, well, I came on aliyah with my family.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Yeah,
And
right.
that's it.
Right.
That's it. And, when we came on aliyah on this, again, 27 years ago, one of the first things that people asked us within the first several years, they could be strangers on a bus or relatives, and I'm talking about relatives who are some are religious living in Yehuda and Shomron, some are Haredim, but they all ask the same question: why?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you look at them like, what kind of question is that?
Yes.
Why? What is wrong with you? You're from New York. You had everything there. You're making 10 times there than you are here. What are you doing? Uh, I can understand in ways since I live here so long, I can actually understand why they would ask that. But now people don't do it that much anymore.
They
Ever
don't.
since October 7th, no, no, because they know what's going on in Chutz La'aretz. They do. They see it. It's on. It's not just on TV. It's everywhere.
Yes.
It's Europe. North America. Everywhere
Toronto.
where Jews live.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you have it in Toronto. I
We
know
do.
you do.
Yeah, we do. We do.
In Montreal, in Quebec. Oh, by the way, my son who's getting married, who got married, my daughter-in-law got accepted to a special program at McGill.
Yeah, fabulous.
She's going on the 3rd of August. So my son and my daughter-in-law will be in Canada for at least a month. So they're gonna get at McGill, like McGill. Oh yeah, yeah. Join the Hillel at McGill. You're gonna need you
Yeah,
need to
it's a
be
bit.
firearms to go there. I
Yeah.
mean, McGill of all places.
Yeah, McGill is
So
a
like,
nutty place. Yeah.
oh my God, McGill in York, horrible, horrible. It's, but
Roshi,
she's
I want to ask you before we wrap up. There's a few things that I'm wondering about. One of which is, um, since October 7th, we've lost many IDF soldiers,
right.
and we've lost many people living on kibbutzim. I've actually had a couple of interviews with family members of former hostages. One is Yair Moses. His father is Gadi Moses, the 80-year-old
Hmm.
fellow who just came out about a month or two ago. He's the
Right.
farmer. You
Hmm.
probably read about him because he's very high profile, as well as Michael Levy, whose brother Orr came out also 3, 4 weeks ago. He's a
Right.
little boy,
Right.
and thank God he was reunited with his son, but unfortunately, his wife was killed on
Hmm.
October 7th. And I've spoken to many people. In fact, today I was at an unveiling for a friend's mother, and a friend of mine who I grew up with, who I went to yeshiva with, was there. He lives in Israel, but he's here for a few weeks visiting his father-in-law. And his wife and I were standing by the gravesite, and I said, "Are you okay? Are you doing all right?" She says, "Yes, these are old people that we're remembering." She says, "I've been at one too many funeral
Right.
for young boys. So this is
Hmm.
just absolutely fine." And I
Hmm.
was astounded at her response, and I thought,
Right.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Have you attended such funerals?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. There was uh, one too many. Um, One was the son of old dear friends of ours, a boy by the name of Yaron Chitis, who is a son of Ranana. How about I remember when he was a little baby? I remember before he was born. I remember when his mom was pregnant with him. His older brothers taught my sons their bar mitzvah parshiot. Um, They babysat my kids. One of them was in the same class as my oldest son. I watched these kids grow up. I've, been dear friends of ours for many years. I sang in choir with their father and their older brothers. Um, yeah, he fell in battle. He fell in action over a year ago. It was a week or so shy of his 23rd birthday or 24th birthday, I forgot. And he was such a good boy. His name was Yaron Chittas, and very, they're originally from Johannesburg. The parents and the oldest son were they're from Johannesburg, but the rest of the kids were born here in Israel. Um, they very very strong proud South African roots and very strong Liverpool United supporters. And to them, for South Africans and Brits, Premier League is it's like sacrosanct. You don't poke fun at it. It really,
Yeah, right,
really is.
right.
I mean, they're not. I can understand. We're Americans. We're all for the home team. Okay, we're the home team. So for me to support, say, I don't know, the Houston Astros, it would be retarded. It's stupid. I'm like, or the Dodgers even. You know, but like I'm a Met fan. I know what it's like to lose because I'm
Yes.
from Queens. Okay, I'm not even a Yankee fan. That's the Bronx. I'm from Queens. All right, so like Johannesburg and Liverpool, I can't relate, but it's a very very sacrosanct thing to them. And this boy loved football and he loved barbecues, brine, they call it in Afrikaans. And he was what he was known as. He was such a sweet, good kid. I was a diamond of a boy. And he comes from that type of family that where they produce diamonds. And it was one of the. I was yeah. The all of Ranana was crying. We were just, and it's hard. It's tough. I see his parents. His parents have come a long way. Yeah. The human spirit is very resilient, more so than you even imagine. But it's a scar that will always be. It would always be an open wound. You can't. Who am I to say anything? You count your blessings. But I'll tell you, this boy was a very special kid and a very wonderful kid. And I say, it was tough. It was tough.
To live in Israel, is it inevitable that regardless what you do, what your involvement is in the state, do you yourself have a sense that you're a warrior just by virtue of the fact that you're there?
Wow. Yes. Yes. Being that I am from the cocoon and the cradle of New York City, which is home to in the United States or even North America, I'll include you guys, the largest Jewish population in North America, where like it's in New York City itself, it's very hard if you're not Jewish not to know it. You're gonna know a Jew. With the lack of an honor, it's a different story, but you definitely know Jewish people. It's a part of the society. It's a part of the culture of New York. But it was a cradle. You were safe away from all that. Well, growing up, you and I, I don't, maybe you're definitely a bit older than I am, but you and I both saw from abroad what was going on, and was that like they're going through so much, and we're not. We're living in the comforts of our home, and now to be a part of it, it is being a warrior. As I said, I was in bomb shelter this morning. You know, that's no small change. That's something I had to get used to. It's even during the Intifadas. There was the Intifada of the early 2000s. When I did have a car, I had a 4x4. I was driving my wife all over the place. I was driving people who visited us all over the place. I wouldn't let them near a bus. Anybody had to get somewhere? My kids, my wife, my Vuru, anybody with us? Oh, good. Let me know. Da da da. Well, I'll get you there. If not, take a cab. You're not going near a bus. The end. Have a nice day. And that's how it was for quite some time. And there was there was a pigua, the knife. They call it the knife pigua. It was when they were going around randomly stabbing people. It was in Ranana. It was in Ranana, definitely. We lived to. I lived to tell a tale. Thank God, Baruch Hashem, I was not harmed, and neither was my children, even more so, or even was my wife, even more so. Or my daughter-in-law, even more so. So I'm very thankful, but at the same time, I'm a warrior just by being here.
Are you scared at all?
Sometimes, yeah, sometimes can't say no.
Of what?
Like I said, well, the knife pagua. You know what I'm saying? Or like, so for instance, I went to visit a friend in Jerusalem a bit over a week ago, 2 weeks ago, and we went to the Kotel for mincha, for afternoon prayers. And he likes a lot. He's in Jerusalem. He was born also in Manhattan, but he lived in Jerusalem. He's here basically as long as we are, and he, like many Yerushalmim, they like to go through the shuk, like
Yes.
the actual Arab shuk. I go around the Armenian quarter, and that's the way I go. I will not go through the Arab shuk. I don't like going through there. First of all, yeah, I am scared. I'll be the first one to say it. I am scared, especially now. Number two, it smells. But it can happen. Definitely. It can't be ruled out. What can I say? But look, I won't. I wouldn't change. I wouldn't trade it for the world.
You've never thought about leaving?
Never. No.
Your wife the
No
same?
way. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Never.
Where is
She
she
was
from? Where is she from, your wife?
Queens, New York.
Oh, also from
She,
Queens.
yeah. Well, she was Rabbi Rosenzweig. Your relative was a rabbi. They lived in Kew
Yes.
Gardens when she
Yeah.
was a very small child.
Yes.
And after her parents divorced, um, and both remarried, she stayed with her father. She opted to stay with her father, and her mother moved down to Florida. And they lived in Kew Gardens Hills in Queens. She's a Queens girl, 100%.
You know why I like interviewing you?
Because my name is Rashi.
That's part of it. That was the genesis of it, no question. The reason I like interviewing you, Rashi, is because, and this is said with a great sense of kavod that I'm extending to you, honor, is that there are basically a few million of you in Israel. In other words, your task, your role of protecting the Jewish people through your sons, through yourself, um, by going through such difficulties as having to wake up at 4 in the morning and run down to the bomb shelter. To me, you are the Jews on the front line of our people.
Thank you.
And this schmooze that I'm having with you, I could have with your neighbor, right? Obviously,
Yes.
the specifics would be different. You're an actor, they're not, I'm gonna guess. But the fact of the
Correct.
matter is they also ran down to the bomb shelter.
Yeah.
Right. So
Right.
they share these experiences with you. And I'm going to
Sure.
guess, and tell me if I'm correct. When you're sitting at a coffee shop, or if you're standing at the bus stop, you hate the buses, I know, you're going on the train. Is there sort of like an unspoken understanding between you and the guy next to you, or you and the woman across from you saying, yeah, that was a bugger this morning having to run into the bomb shelter at 4 a.m.? Is there that understanding?
Absolutely.
There is.
For sure. For sure. Especially when it's fresh. Look, on one hand, we're used to it. We are. I'm not gonna lie. We're used to it. Like, we came regular to it. But there is that issue of, here we go again. You know. So you froze. Damn it.
Well, no,
Oh,
that
okay.
was
Oh,
that
you
was
didn't.
why
Okay.
my last question to you. Why are Jews hated so much, Rashi?
I don't know.
Well, that's a first.
We're not. It's not only hatred. It's not only hatred. I really have no idea. They
Yeah.
don't. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people come up with ideas like, well, that Esaf Soneg Yaakov. Yeah, I know that. Thanks. I say it every morning. Zachor Amalek. Yeah, I know. The wise. You can't. I've said it to you before. You can't rationalize the irrational. I don't. I stopped doing that a long time ago. Why? Why the hypertension and the ulcers for? Why? It's just like makes you angry. I think even more so. I think it's part of the hatred, but I think even more so the lack of respect. They don't respect us. They don't respect us. I'm Rabbi Kahana said this, and I always loved Rabbi Kahana for many different reasons, though I did think he was a narcissist, but he was on point. He was definitely a narcissist, but he was definitely on point. He says, I don't want the world to love me. I just want respect. And that's it. The world's not going to love you. But since year 70 CE, when we were dispersed from Judea, most of us, and Samaria to Rome, and then up to, into over the run into Germany, and then the Jews who went to Spain, they had we had to know that the world was not going to love us, but they never respected us, and there is a difference. There is a difference. Um, the fact that people get all crazy because we're defending ourselves. And we have to sit there and explain to the world at the UN, at UN assemblies, that we have the right to protect ourselves. Why are they even bothering? Don't waste your time. They're not going to buy it. That's it. Just do what you need to do. That's it. The end. Show restraint. Piss off. Fuck you. Pardon my Yiddish. You tell that to anybody else in the world when the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. I said Pearl Harbor, Pearl Harbor. Did did the Allied powers say show restraint when you kick the crap out of the Japanese, or show restraint when you bombed Dresden from to Hitch to to the British when they bombed Dresden? Nah, it wasn't even on the menu. But everything we do, we have to, you know. And then my favorite thing is favorite, and I'm saying this with a great amount of sarcasm, are the self-hating Jews, the ones who fight to be the wimps. I'm sorry for using this term, the pussies, like Woody Allen, and and to be like him. You have people like Norm Finkelstein, who I despise with every bone in my body. He fights. He doesn't understand why we have to show any muscle. He hates that Jews do that. And that's where it comes from. Because not only do we have too many of people like him, it's not even like one or two or three or four. You don't find it anywhere else in a great amount of people. You know, you have Max Blumenthal, who's a vile anti-Semite, makes no bones about it. You have Miko Peled, you have Norm Finkelstein, you have Aaron Mate, you have Miriam Morales from she played she's an actress. We show any amount of muscle in retaliation, they go all crazy, ape shit crazy over us.
Yeah, there's a woman who wrote a book called The World Loves Dead Jews, and I think there is something to that. I think
Yep.
there is something to that.
But the thing is, you have to have the attitude. I don't want your love. Get out of here. You can hate me. Don't worry about it. I don't give a shit about you. But damn it, you better respect me, or I'll kick the shit out of you. And that's what you have to do.
You're like a tough New Yorker. Come to Israel, get tougher. I'll never play stickball with you, Rashi.
I
Listen,
was I was never like you develop that. You just
I
don't
hear you.
understand why. You could sit there, like they call it Stockholm syndrome. But I think it's worse because it's become a pandemic. It really has. And find me another ethnic group that has that same sort of low self-respect and low self-esteem. no respect for themselves, apologizing when they don't celebrate Christmas.
We're right. But on the flip side, I think it's safe to say that the self-respect that we do have, not that we don't have, you're right. There are certainly pockets of people who do not. But I would say that especially since October 7th, and tell me if you agree, you know better than I do, that the concept of Yisrael Chai, the unity of the Jewish people, is extremely powerful.
Right. But unfortunately, something bad has to happen for us to get there. We were undivided. We were divided, pardon me. We were divided from October 6th and beforehand.
Yeah, it's very much
If you
so.
remember, there were a
Yes.
lot of protests about the government, about this and that, and the people going to the protests didn't even know why they were protesting. They really didn't. They really didn't. Want to know the truth? Neither did I.
Mhm.
Neither did I. I didn't understand what they were going on about. But we were divided. And one was against the other, and blah, 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 blah. And that was when they go in.
Mhm.
And that's what happened. And now, yes, the Achdut, as we call it, the brotherhood, the strength, is strong. It was like this when also around June, July 1945. It was like this in 1947, 1967, 72. See,
You know your
bad
history,
things
man.
happen.
So I have some good news here for you.
Oh, what's up?
As I mentioned
You're gonna,
before,
you're gonna, you're gonna, you're gonna correct your spelling of your last name.
yeah, I'm gonna drop the exactly. I'm gonna drop the S and pick up the Z. I've always felt there's something about that Z. I don't know. So much more at home with the Z, the Z. We call it Z here in Canada.
I know. I
No.
call it Z. I call it Z also.
Oh, you do
Z
call it
makes.
Z?
I call it Z. I adopted Z from the Brits and the Africans. I'll tell you why. Because it makes perfect sense.
Hmm? Does it? Why?
It make, um, because Z sounds like C.
Oh, there you go.
It does.
It's a Jewish cup.
Z
I
is
like
in
that.
zebra, but Z is in Z. There's no question, right?
I like
There
that.
you go.
Very good. Now, I've asked AI to write a poem about you, and I call it Ode to Rashi Rosenzweig. Would you like to hear it?
Yeah, sure, of course.
Okay, listen closely. In Bell Harbor, where the sea meets the shore, a soul was born destined to soar. Rashi Rosenzweig, a name that would shine with dreams that took root in a land so divine. From New York's embrace to Ranana's light, in August 98, the journey took flight. With his wife and sons, they found a new place, a home in the heart of Israel's embrace. An actor by trade with passion to speak in theater and film, his talent unique. On stage and on screen, his presence would stay, but his love for the craft stretched far beyond play. A mad Zionist, he proudly proclaimed. For the land of the Jews, he fervently aimed. Through voiceovers and stories, he found his own way, but the call of the homeland would never, never decay. And with every word, every laugh, every song, he built his own legacy, steady and strong. A dog by his side, a family complete in Ranana, where life feels so sweet. To Rabbi Daniel Beller, may his soul rest in peace, whose wisdom and guidance never did cease. With Zionist spirit, the dreams will not die. For Rashi Rosenzweig, it's all reaching the sky. From Bell Harbor's shore to the Israeli land, he found his true calling, his heart and his hand. Through stories and dreams, he'll forever take flight. A man who loves writing and lives with the light.
Whoa,
I know. It's
that
unbelievable.
is
Isn't it something?
awesome.
It's like being on a huge stage on
Ah,
Broadway. Isn't it nice?
wow, that is so cool.
I know,
I
isn't that
love
cool?
it.
So I do
I
that. I do
love
that
it.
for a lot of my guests. Some of them have responses like you, which they love it, and others are like, "Well, it's AI. No one really wrote
It
it." Da da da.
no,
But to me, to,
come
to me,
on.
it's epic. It's epic,
I think it's awesome. I love
right?
it. Nobody ever wrote a poem about me before.
I know. That's the thing. I had a buddy who wrote a song about
Roses
me.
are red, violets are blue. Rashi Rosenzweig is goo. Probably that I got.
That's a beautiful piece. Can I ask you one thing that I wasn't clear on? And I wrote this. We actually did another interview which didn't work out. And I asked AI to write this at the time. What is it about the dog? A dog by his side.
I did have a dog. I right.
You
We had
did
a
have a
dog
dog?
until
How would I?
well, me growing up, I had when I was born, I had a dog. My bar mitzvah present was a dog.
Ooh,
Uh,
sweet. Nice
my
present.
family loves dogs. My family loves both sides of the family, especially my mom's the Feigenbaums. We love dogs.
The
All of
Feigenbaums.
us, the Feigenbaums. Yeah, they love dogs.
But you don't
My
have a
even my
dog in
dad.
Israel. You don't have a dog in Israel.
We did, but she passed away in 2018, I think.
What kind? I'm sorry to hear that. What kind of dog?
Um, she was a Canaanite dog. They are like the dingoes of Israel.
Oh,
They're
really?
basically, yeah. Oh, believe me, she was my. One day I had a dog. I'm serious. Like my oldest son Daniel found her in his annual trip from school, and they were just like a box of puppies found on a picnic table. All these little 14, 13-year-old boys brought home the dog, including my son. I was like, no, no, no. And all of a sudden, well, P.S. Long story short, her name was Bailey. And yeah, so she was our dog and we loved her. And she was a pain in the ass if there ever was. And she was very high strung and very high maintenance, but she was our dog.
He was your
That's
dog.
it.
And at
She
the
was
end of the
our dog.
day, at the end of the
Yeah,
day,
but like my wife and I, my wife didn't grow up with dogs.
yeah,
She did not. My father-in-law is like
kiss of
allergic
death.
to anything, with fur, and also my older brother-in-law, as well as just not them. And so my wife, understood that our husband adores dogs, and I passed that gene down to my kids. But she got into that. She was
All
okay with
right.
it. It was okay.
Good
But
for
we're
her.
we're done. We're done. We're no more.
Yeah, that's what
No more.
happens. I know. I had a Max, the German Shepherd, for 14 years, and once he died, that was enough. I'm
My
good.
dog's name was my bar mitzvah dog. His name was Max, and he was a
Everybody's
shepherd,
dog.
and he was a shepherd mix, and he
Rashi
was the best.
Rosenzweig, thank you so much for doing this interview. I enjoyed it very much.
Thank you, man. This was so cool.
It
I
was
was
a
so
good one.
glad to finally do it. Yeah, it was a great one.
It was
Great
a
one.
great one. And again, what I'm hoping that my listeners and my viewers take out of this interview is to get a really, really good sense of an Israeli, of what it's like to live in Israel from the inside out. And I think
Yeah.
that you actually displayed that. And I think you presented it extremely well. So Yisrael to you. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And well done
Thank you
on your
so
life.
much.
Well done on your life. You're doing a great
And
job.
yours as well.
Thank you.
Yours as well.
Thank you. Ladies and
All the
gentlemen,
best.
thank you very much for listening and for watching. As I say at the end of all of my podcasts, I'm telling you, the best life is when you find your zone, when you find those things in life that make sense to you and that give you meaning and they give you purpose. So I really qualify my podcast as it's a way of paying homage to humankind by patting people on the back, by patting the world on the back through inspirational interviews. And I do this because there is a pretty dark cloud hanging over us nowadays. And it's a very
Yeah.
difficult time for humankind, not only Jews, but for humankind. And I think it's extremely important that we remember the greatness that we have achieved together in the creation of this beautiful world that we have, or at least what's in it. And I think Rushy represents an individual who went after his dreams and pursued his passions. And he seems like a pretty happy man to me, pretty content man, despite the fact that he's got to roll out of bed at 4 o'clock in the morning, run downstairs to that damn, bomb shelter and stay there for a while until he gets the clear. But take that out of his narrative and make your life as great as possible. Run, man, run fast to your dreams, right, Rushy?
Absolutely.
Run to your dreams.
Absolutely.
All right, until we meet again, folks, as they say in Yiddishkeit, go in good health. I'm Yisrael Chai, the nation of Israel lives, and be proud to be a Jew because we are a great, great people. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man. All the best.
All the best.